Welcome back to Carrick United Analysis. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. This is the home for honest, deep, and calm analysis of everything happening at Manchester United under Michael Carrick. No panic, no overreaction, just real breakdowns of what is actually happening on the pitch the way Carrick himself would want us to look at it. If that sounds like your kind of football content, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and settle in, because today we have a lot to talk about. Manchester United fans, let me ask you something before we start. How do you react when your team loses a preseason friendly 1-0? Do you panic? Do you start typing angry messages online? Or do you sit back, take a breath, and remember that preseason is not about the scoreline at all? Because that second option is exactly the mindset Michael Carrick wants from all of us right now. United have just been beaten 1-0 by Wrexham in Helsinki, in Carrick's first match in charge of the club on a permanent basis. And instead of panic, his message after the game was calm, clear, and focused on the bigger picture. Today we are going to break down everything that happened, what it means, and why this result should not worry a single Red Devil. Setting the scene, what actually happened in Helsinki. Let us start with the basic facts, because context always matters before we jump into opinions. Manchester United traveled to Helsinki to face Wrexham in their opening pre-season friendly of the summer. This match had extra meaning because it was the first game in charge for Michael Carrick as the club's new permanent manager. A big early test of what direction this team is heading in, even if it was just a friendly. Several senior players were missing, still on extended breaks after a long World Cup summer. Big names were simply not involved, which meant this was a great chance for other players to step forward and grab their opportunity. The match itself did not have a lot of clear-cut chances. It was one of those quiet, cagey pre-season games where both teams were still finding their rhythm. But in the 39th minute, Wrexham found the breakthrough. A low cross was delivered into the box, and after a mix-up at the back, the ball was turned home from close range. 1-0 to Wrexham, and that scoreline stayed until the final whistle. At halftime, Carrick made wholesale changes, bringing on a completely new set of players for the second half, giving even more members of the squad valuable minutes. Despite pushing for an equalizer in the second half, United could not find a way through, and the match ended in a narrow defeat. Now here is the important question. Should Manchester United fans be worried about this result? Why the scoreline does not tell the real story. If you only look at the final score, you might think this was a bad day for United. But once you understand what preseason football is actually for, the picture changes completely. Preseason is not about winning trophies. It is not even mainly about winning matches. Preseason exists for one main purpose, and that is building match fitness. Think about it like this. Players have had weeks off after a long, tiring season, and in this case, some players had an extended summer following a major World Cup tournament. Their bodies need time to get back to full sharpness. Their touch needs time to return. Their understanding of teammates needs time to click again. That is exactly the message coming from the Carrick camp after this game. The focus was on progression and finding rhythm, not on the result itself. At this early stage in July, the priority is getting minutes into players' legs and avoiding injuries, not chasing tactical perfection. That is simply how smart preseason planning works. Ask yourself this. Would you rather see your team win a meaningless July friendly by chasing the game recklessly and risking injuries? Or would you rather see them build fitness steadily and be ready for when it really matters, on the opening weekend of the Premier League season? I think most sensible United fans already know the answer to that. The two different lineups approach. One thing worth highlighting here is the tactical approach Carrick used for this match. Instead of playing one settled team for the full 90 minutes, he used two completely different lineups, one for each half. Why does this matter? This approach allows a manager to look at more players in live match conditions in a single game. It means academy players and squad members who might not usually get minutes in a normal competitive fixture get a real chance to show what they can do against a proper opponent in a proper match environment. And Wrexham were not some soft opponent either. They came into this game sharp and organized, a side that has been building good habits under their own management. That actually makes this test more valuable for United's fringe players and academy prospects, not less. Facing a robust and well-drilled side means young players cannot hide. They have to compete, they have to think fast, and they have to prove they belong on that pitch. This is exactly the kind of environment that helps a manager learn about his squad depth heading into a new season. Which fringe players are ready to step up? Which academy graduates deserve more opportunities? Which players need more time in training before they are ready for first-team football? Doesn't that sound like exactly the kind of information a smart manager wants heading into a long, demanding season? The standout performer, Mason Mount. Now let us talk about one of the real positives from this match, because even in a defeat, there were players who caught the eye, and Mason Mount was right at the top of that list. Reports from the match describe Mount as sharp and influential in midfield, someone who was directing play and looking dangerous going forward. One detail that stood out was a corner delivery from Mount that struck the woodwork, showing his quality on dead ball situations and his eye for a dangerous delivery into the box. For Mount, this is a big moment. Injuries and inconsistent form have made life difficult for him at times since he joined the club. A performance like this, even in a friendly, matters. It shows sharpness. It shows fitness. It shows a player who looks ready to contribute in a real way this coming season. Think about how important a fully fit, in-form Mount could be for this team. He offers creativity, he offers technical quality in tight spaces, and he offers set-piece danger, something that has been missing in recent seasons. If he can carry this kind of sharpness into the season proper, that is a huge boost for Carrick's midfield options. What do you think? Can Mason Mount finally have his breakthrough season at Manchester United this year? I would love to know your thoughts on that. The debutant everyone is talking about, André Santos. Now let us move on to one of the most exciting parts of this match for United fans, the debut of André Santos. Santos arrived at the club with plenty of hype following his move, and fans have been eager to see him in action. In this match, he finally got his first minutes, and by most early accounts, he showed real composure for a player making his first appearance in the shirt. One notable moment came when the goalkeeper spilled the ball following a challenge, and it was Santos who reacted quickly to clear the danger away from his own box. That kind of awareness and reaction speed on debut in a new team in a new football culture says a lot about a player's football brain. Why does a debut like this matter so much, even in a pre-season friendly? Because first appearances tell you about a player's mentality. Nerves can get to anyone in a new environment, but composure under pressure, even in small moments like clearing a loose ball, shows a player who is settling in well and thinking clearly rather than panicking. For a manager building a new project, seeing a big money or big reputation signing blend into the system quickly is exactly what you want to see. It suggests a smooth integration process, which reduces the risk of a long, slow adaptation period once the real season begins. Are you excited to see more of André Santos as pre-season continues? Let me know down in the comments, because I certainly am. Addressing the defensive mistake honestly. Now, we cannot do a full and honest breakdown without talking about the goal itself, because that is part of learning and improving. The goal came from a moment where United's defense was caught out. A cross came in from the left side of the box, following a throw-in situation, and the finish arrived at the back post from a player who had gone unmarked. It was a case of a brief lapse in concentration rather than a tactical collapse, the type of moment that can happen in any preseason game when players are still building their understanding of each other. The important thing here is how you respond to moments like this. Instead of pointing fingers at individual players, the tone from the club has been about learning from small details. A competitive side like Wrexham showed that they will punish any lapse in focus, and that serves as a good reminder of the concentration levels needed heading into the season. This is a mature way to handle a defensive mistake. Rather than dragging one player through the mud publicly, the focus stays on the team as a whole, improving its habits and communication at the back. That is exactly the kind of calm, steady leadership Carrick has been known for throughout his time in football, both as a player and now as a manager. Football fans can sometimes be quick to blame one single player for a goal conceded. But defending is a team job. Marking runs, communication, positioning, all of these things involve more than one player working together. A short lapse in July should not turn into a big public criticism of any single defender. It should simply be a lesson the group learns from together and moves past quickly. Why Carrick's calm tone matters so much right now. let us step back for a moment and talk about something bigger than just this one match. Let us talk about tone and why it matters so much for a club like Manchester United. Managing a huge football club comes with enormous pressure. Every match gets analyzed. Every decision gets questioned. Every result gets turned into a headline. In that kind of environment, it would be very easy for a manager to overreact to a small preseason defeat, to come out with panicked words, or to throw individual players under the bus in public. Carrick has chosen a different path. His tone after this game has been calm, balanced, and focused on the process rather than the emotional reaction to one scoreline. This matters because it sets the tone for the entire club, from the players in the dressing room to the fans watching at home. When a manager stays calm after a defeat like this, it sends a message to the players. It tells them that the club trusts the process. It tells them that one bad afternoon in July will not define how they are judged. That kind of environment allows players to relax, express themselves, and develop without living in constant fear of one mistake ending their opportunities. For fans, this calm approach should also bring comfort. It shows a manager who understands the difference between a meaningless preseason match and a competitive fixture that truly matters. It shows someone who has clear priorities and does not get pulled off course by small results early in the summer. Doesn't that give you more confidence heading into the new season, knowing your manager has that kind of clear-headed approach? What this all means for the season ahead. So what should Manchester United fans actually take away from this Wrexham defeat? First, do not read too much into the scoreline. This was always about building fitness, testing depth, and giving valuable minutes to players who need them, not about winning a July friendly at all costs. Second, take real encouragement from the individual performances. Mason Mount looked sharp, dangerous, and back to something like his best level. Andre Santos showed early signs of composure and quick thinking on his first outing in the shirt. Those are two genuinely positive signs to build on. Third, understand the defensive lesson without overreacting to it. Concentration at set pieces and throw-ins is something every team needs to sharpen up as preseason continues, and this was a low-cost way to learn that lesson before it actually matters in a competitive match. Fourth, and maybe most importantly, trust the calm tone coming from the manager. A steady, mature response to early setbacks is exactly what a club rebuilding its identity needs at the top. The road ahead, what comes next. With this opening friendly now behind them, Manchester United continue their preparations for the new campaign. More friendlies are on the horizon before the Premier League gets underway, and each of these matches will offer another chance for fringe players to impress, for key players to build sharpness, and for Carrick to fine-tune his approach heading into the big kickoff. Expect the sharper, more recognizable lineups to slowly take shape as more senior players return from their break. Expect fitness levels across the squad to steadily improve. And expect Carrick to keep using these matches as tools for learning, rather than results to be judged on in isolation. The real test begins when the Premier League season kicks off. That is when results truly start to matter, when 3 points make a real difference in the table, and when performances get judged with much sharper scrutiny. Everything happening right now in July is simply the foundation being laid for that moment. Final thoughts before we wrap up. So there we have it, Manchester United family. A 1-0 defeat to Wrexham in Helsinki, but a result that tells us far less than the performances and the mentality on display. Mason Mount looking sharp and dangerous. Andre Santos making a composed first appearance in the shirt. A small defensive lesson learned early, without panic, without blame, and without losing sight of the bigger picture. This is exactly the kind of calm, process-driven approach that gives real hope for the season ahead under Michael Carrick. Let me leave you with one final question before we close out today's video. Do you believe this calm, fitness-first approach to preseason will pay off once the real action begins in August? Or do you think United need to show more urgency in these remaining friendlies? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing different perspectives from this community. Thank you so much for watching today. If this breakdown helped you understand the bigger picture behind this result, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and share this with a fellow United fan who needs a calm, clear take on where this club is heading. This channel only grows because of viewers like you, and every single one of you is part of what makes Carrick United Analysis a trusted place for honest United coverage. Until the next video, stay patient, stay positive, and keep believing in the process. Come on, United!